All right, guys, I think we're at time, so we're going to get started. This is the Music and Wellbeing breakout session. And my name is Tara Rick, and I'm moderating, and I am a physician assistant and cancer researcher in cancer survivorship here at the University of Minnesota. And I am thrilled to introduce our presenter of this session, Dr. Jenzi Silverman. And Jenzi is an instructor with the University of Minnesota's Earl E. Bakken Center for Spirituality and Healing. And she believes passionately in the power of music to heal and has created and taught courses on music, the brain, and wellness since 2009. And Jenzi describes her professional background and philosophy this way. I am fascinated with how the brain works and the way that we think and feel affects our bodies. And my great passion in life is music. So teaching about music, the brain, and wellness is how I bring it all together. And then is Mathew here? Matt is going to join us at some point, and he is our fabulous MC that you saw out in the main room. And just, I want to introduce him quickly. We'll just introduce him before he gets in then today. But I don't know if you guys know, but Mathew Odette, he is a creative from central Minnesota. He lives in St. Cloud, and he is a former actor. And he now runs a small production company in central Minnesota. And he overcame Burkitt's lymphoma, which taught him resilience and gratitude. And then with a passion for film, cycling, and adventure, he is really happy to be with us today. All right, now before we get started, I just want to share some kind of objectives. The goal of this session is to help us feel connected, hopeful, and to have fun. We're not going to talk about specific diagnosis, treatment, side effects, any of those types of things today, where it's really about healing. And if you're joining us online, our room moderator, Amna, is following along with your comments. So feel free to chat in supportive comments and related questions into the chat. And then we'll have some time for question and answer at the end of the session. So with that, I will turn it over to Jenzi.
Thanks so much, Tara, and thanks to the Masonic Cancer Center for having me. This is a great honor and a joy to be here, and thank all of you for attending. So yeah, this is our theme. I Will Survive, borrowing that title from Gloria Gaynor's anthem. Yes, I know it's a breakup song, but I think the whole idea of I Will Survive applies very much to cancer survivorship too. So we're about music, well-being, and cancer survivorship today, and it's going to be a pretty interactive session. So as you'll see on the next slide, I want to hear from you. Think for a second about if a song or a piece of music ever helped you feel better in body, mind, spirit, or otherwise, or if it's helped you connect with other people right when you needed that the most. Especially if you are a survivor or you know and love someone who is over the course of your or their treatment and recovery. And a picture of Prince, because he is one of my all-time favorite artists, and of course he is a local guy. So any of you have stories about music and better well-being that you'd like to share just off the top of your head?
So when I was diagnosed, I don't know how much of it was part of my family, but just in the past, throughout life growing up, it has always been part of that past. And continually, I remember driving in the car on the way up here for appointments from Sioux Falls, and mom and dad would always have the classical radio station on. And I'm like, can't we listen to something like more upbeat and crazy? And now it's like what all the kids are listening to, But now as an adult and also having members of the orchestra in my family, I find sometimes calm in the orchestral type music and relate it and helps to center. And even the loud upbeat music helps me to center sometimes too. And it's just kind of interesting. I guess I've never thought of it as helping me in some respects. It's just always been a part of me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And what you talked about how classical music that's calming and more upbeat, maybe pop type music is centering in a whole other way. That is a great preview of something that I'm going to talk with you guys about shortly. So wonderful. Thank you for sharing. One or two other people. Yeah, over at this table.
I would say that, so I was diagnosed last summer with breast cancer, and we didn't have a church home at the time. We'd been looking, and I think my connection is more spiritual, and how music in a church, I'm going to get emotional now. Just listening to that music in a church that later became our home, that really resonated and really broke me in public, and the comfort that it's brought me in not only like songs that just make me cry or get emotional like that, but those badass kind of songs that are spiritual, they're just like so strengthening to me and make me just refocus that I am powerful and things are going to be okay.
Yeah, yeah. And it's really almost immeasurable, isn't it? It can be kind of hard to put into words. I can really hear that emotion in your voice, and relatable, very much so, I think, for a lot of people in this room. Thanks for sharing that. Maybe one or two other people. Yeah, over here.
I like the song. I think it's called Survivor. It reminds me that I'm a survivor.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Great. And maybe just one more. I'd love to hear from everybody, but just in the interest of time, and more of you will get a chance to share later.
I was just going to say, I sing, and so not just listening, but actually the physical act of that is very calming and wonderful, I think. So like, don't forget that. Like, we all sang as kids, everybody, and we'll
Yes.
forget to do it as you grow older, but just do it anyway, in the shower, in your car, whatever. Yep.
Yeah, that part, absolutely. That's something that students in my class, when I give them the assignment, then the week that we talk about live music, and I'll tell them, okay, I want you to make some live music for yourself, even if it's singing in the shower or your car, and don't feel silly or goofy or self-conscious, especially if there's no one else there but you. Just concentrate on how much better it makes you feel. So yeah, exactly. That is exactly right. And we'll talk in just a slide or two about why that is. So yeah, speaking of, why is it that music has this kind of power to boost our well-being, maybe like almost nothing else? I like to say it's all in our heads, but it's not all in our heads. It's all in our heads because it all starts with music's effects on the brain. It's not all in our heads because this is not our imagination, everybody. This is real. Music affects the whole brain all at once. And the page that I've given a link to, and I should also say, I'm happy to make this slideshow available, absolutely free, of course, to anybody who would like a copy afterwards. The page I've given a link to is a fun interactive thing from the University of Central Florida, where you can click on every area of the brain and it will tell you exactly that area of the brain's role in our response to music. So it's basically all areas of the brain all at once. And when we sing or play an instrument, it really is the entire brain. So if you think about it, music makes you want to sing along especially if you know the words and the song is very meaningful to you. If you like the song, but you don't know the words, you try to figure them out. You're curious if it has lyrics. So the language areas of your brain are working. The memory and emotion centers of your brain light up, especially if this is music that you feel a real connection to, that you've had a connection to for years. Your frontal lobes that control your critical and rational and logical thinking and planning, those are working too. The motor areas of your brain, especially if it's very rhythmic and it makes you want to dance. The vital sign centers in your brain stem that control the most basic functions like breathing, heart rate, blood pressure, temperature, areas in the brain that control that. Those work too. And your vital signs will actually sync up with the rhythm and tempo and mood of the music you're listening to, which is why calming music can make you feel literally calmer because your breathing, your heart rate, your blood pressure slow down to match it. Why upbeat music, especially, and we're going to talk later about power songs, why songs that make you feel powerful and badass, like one of you said, why those are so energizing because your vital signs sync up with those. So music affects us body, mind, and spirit. It's a very powerful biopsychosocial and spiritual intervention. So those of you who shared with us about how music's affected you for the better, you are describing effects that are absolutely very real. And I'll be talking about this a little bit in relation specifically to cancer survivorship. So if a slide says I feel good, we have to have a picture of James Brown also because he's one of my favorites. So again, if you've consciously chosen music because you wanted to feel better in any way, it's absolutely not all in your head. People who are getting typical cancer treatments, chemo or radiation, or who have surgery tend to have less nausea and fatigue, more energy, and just more positive feeling. Surgical and dental patients who can listen to their favorite music during and after procedures feel less pain and anxiety. Anybody tend to have anxiety before or during medical procedures or dental ones? I'm guessing most people in this room, yeah. If you can listen to your favorite music before, during, and or after, it really can help make a big difference. Those of you who talked about singing or making music with other people, that can actually turn on your immune system. There have been some studies that show a definite drop in cortisol and adrenaline, the stress hormones, and upregulation in immunoglobulin A, which is a key protein in the immune system. So having your favorite music and making it, especially with other people, can leave you in stronger shape to fight off illness. I would never say music can cure cancer. Wouldn't that be wonderful if it could? But it can help you feel stronger in every way to keep on fighting it. So shake it off. We got to have Taylor Swift because this is my favorite song of hers and I'm kind of a Swiftie. So music can also calm down the brain's fear and anxiety centers. And it can do this very cool thing. Researchers have known about this for close to 60 years about how music, listening to or making music can actually interfere with pain signals being transmitted throughout the body. When part of your body is injured, or inflamed in pain in any way, the signal travels up the spinal cord to the brain. But if your brain is occupied with music that you really enjoy, it actually jams up the circuit so that only some of the pain signal can get to your brain. So if you've ever been listening to music when you're physically in pain and notice that the pain gets a lot more bearable, that again is a very real effect. Pain and any kind of illness or distress. And again, those of you who are or are close to cancer survivors know it affects you physically, socially, psychologically, and even spiritually. Music also affects you those ways, in a positive way. And that's why it can be so healing and help you, wait for it, shake it off. Sorry, I had to. So Happy, Pharrell Williams, because that is also one of my favorite songs, and focusing for a minute on psychological. If you've used music to improve your mood, and again, reflect yourself on what music and what circumstances. Of course, music that you love is associated with pleasant memories, and it stimulates the brain's memory centers, not just the hippocampus, which is this little structure, kind of seahorse shaped, next to the emotion centers of the brain that helps you create memories. But this part of the frontal lobes here, right behind the forehead, the middle of our prefrontal cortex, this is the part of the brain that helps you incorporate what you experience into your personal autobiography, your life story, and make sense of it. And it's very sensitive to music. It's also one of the more robust areas of the brain and one of the last to die off in people with Alzheimer's or similar dementias. This helps explain if you've ever known somebody with memory loss who can remember almost nothing else, but you play or sing them a song from, say, their teen or early adult years or their childhood, they remember every word. Anyone ever witnessed something like that? Yeah. It's because of music's connection to our life story, our personal autobiography, our sense of identity. Songs that we weave into that are some of the last things that we ever remember or forget. And also, especially when you're making music, the whole brain stimulation provided by music just makes you feel more alert and better overall. Like I said before, regulates your vital signs. And when your vital signs are in a healthy range and you're pleasantly alert, not anxious, and if you want to be alert, not asleep, then you tend to feel better physically and emotionally, if all that makes sense. Breathin', Ariana Grande, because Breathin' is a song that she wrote while she was struggling with panic attacks. And the refrain, for any of you who don't know, is just keep breathing and breathing and breathing, was a reminder to herself to just breathe. When she felt overwhelmed, like life was just too much, just breathe, just keep breathing. So listening to music when you're anxious, you're stressed, unfortunately, those of you who are survivors or close to a survivor are no stranger to emotions like that. But listening to or making music that calms you when you're in a bad headspace like that, again, regulates your vital signs, puts them in more of a healthy range, calms the hyperactivity in the amygdala and hypothalamus, which are parts of your emotional brain that respond to, not just stimuli that make us afraid or angry, but also anything that has emotional importance to us. calms down your whole stress axis, your hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and adrenal gland axis, which is the system that tends to key us up into the fight or flight mode and is responsible for making stress hormones. So music that calms you calms that down, stimulates the parts of your brains I just talked about that are responsible for memory to produce pleasant memories associated with the music, and causes an increase, or I should say it's associated with an increase in all the neurotransmitters and hormones of pleasure, calm, and connection. So pretty impressive stuff. The research, like I was telling Tara, I did a mini literature review, specifically looking at studies focused on people going through cancer treatment to see how music affected them. So this one study by Shake Wu and colleagues, listening to music, culturally appropriate music for the patients, so especially folk or mixed genres in the case of these people, for this frequency, at least just over a half-hour session, 2 to 3 times a week over a couple of months, better mood, better quality of life in survivors of female reproductive cancers, breast cancer. Also, Henahan and colleagues, breast cancer survivors who listen to music. Again, you'll notice with these studies anyway, pretty frequently for at least a few weeks, associated with less brain fog. And if we have time near the end, I'll be telling you guys about some doctors, I think at the University of Cincinnati, who have been developing an app that helps cancer survivors use music to combat and reduce brain fog. So yeah, this study showed this association between listening to music and less brain fog, and no surprise here, better mental health and better stress management. Study from just last year, again, showing that music-based interventions, so anything involving listening to or making music, combined with care as usual, better than care as usual by itself to release, reduce pain, stress, fatigue in cancer patients. Another study, Lima and colleagues, of breast cancer patients, less negative side effects of chemo, even less chemo-induced nausea and vomiting, which is very good anytime you can reduce or eliminate that, as some of you no doubt know. Also, less depression and anxiety, less fatigue. And this study by Lynch, people in the hospital who participated in both active and passive music therapy. So either making music with a music therapist, that was stimulating in a positive way. And people appreciated interacting around something pleasant with a healthcare provider in a way that made them feel normal. That's something else I'll touch on, and I'm guessing some of you will as well. And just listening to the music therapist play soothing live music, calming and relaxing, and patients could request favorite songs, and they really appreciated that as well. I'll also say in general, research on music listening, especially for people who have a significant critical illness, patient choice in the music they listen to is super important, especially because if you have any kind of a serious illness, cancer or anything else, you tend to feel a lot of loss of control and loss of agency, right? There's just so much you're not in control of. And it's one of the things that really is depressing and discouraging, and like the last thing you need when you're already battling a serious illness. But being able to do something as simple as choose the music that someone plays for you or that you can listen to makes a huge difference. And just one more, this active music engagement program, which focused on kids, pediatric cancer patients and music therapists, was great for not just the kids, but the parents as well. And any of you who have been caregivers to a cancer survivor know that anything that diverts the patient's attention from their illness and treatment, and again, brings normalcy and joy, makes you feel better too. That's exactly what Rob and colleagues found. And then finally, informal research that I did about 9 years ago, I interviewed this group of survivors of mesothelioma and some partners and caregivers who also all happened to be musicians and who had a tradition of playing together during the mesothelioma research and survivors symposium every year. And they said being able to play together live was huge for them because they could connect with other people who knew what they were going through. And at the same time, they could forget about everything cancer related and just experience some normalcy and joy in making music. And I did find a tiny clip of them, the 2017 version of the Meso Fighters Band, as they call themselves, at the Meso Symposium, jamming together a little bit. That's fun to see. What about music that matches a bad mood? And I've included Help by the Beatles as the theme for this slide because this song was the first one I ever listened to back in middle school where I noticed that it matched exactly the way I was feeling. It was as if John Lennon could read my thoughts. He wrote this about his own angst at being famous, but any of you who know the song Help by the Beatles know that it's great at describing any kind of angst. Sometimes it's absolutely fine to listen to music that matches a bad headspace because you feel less alone. You feel like whoever wrote the song, or if it's an instrumental piece of music that just matches the mood you're in, you feel like they understood what you're going through. And any kind of negative emotions can make you feel very isolated. So anything that makes you feel connected to someone who knows what you're going through is really huge. Also, especially if you're feeling some kind of way and you're not sure why that is, you just know you feel bad and you need to express those feelings somehow. Music that matches your mood can help you identify what's bothering you and name those feelings. And if the music makes you cry it out, prolactin is a hormone released in emotional tears, and it's responsible for the feeling of relief and a kind of antidepressant effect after you've had a good cry. So sometimes when you just need to cry something out, just the right piece of music or song can help you. That can be super healthy. Music should match your mood. It's worth thinking about and even writing it down or discussing it with someone else. If you're not sure what's causing your feelings, having trouble expressing them, and you know you don't want to hear calming or happy music because that would just be irritating and make your mood worse, music that matches the way you feel might be the way to go. Other times you might be like, yeah, I know what's bothering me. And, I just kind of need to be over it and listen to happier music. That's fine too. Again, it's worth thinking about, writing about, reflecting about, talking with other people. I just tell people, don't listen to music that just encourages you to go down the rabbit hole of feeling worse and worse and worse. Always talk that out with a trusted friend or family member, mental health care provider, therapist if you need. calling or texting 988 if it's really a crisis. So that's the only time I would say don't listen to music that matches a bad headspace. If it's just making you feel worse and worse and worse, not better. And then support songs. Lean on Me by Bill Withers here in his later years. One of my favorite support songs. So sometimes all you need is music that tells you you're not alone and people have your back no matter what, because cancer can be a really isolating experience. Anybody have support songs that have the theme, I have your back, don't worry, I'm here with you, you've got support. Anybody want to share the names of any support songs like that? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are inspiring to me personally, whether it's I just need to bleh it all out and scream and like get out of my own head for a little bit or recenter. I guess the number one that's been kind of an importance for me is it's called The Tree Song. And I think I want to say it's by Ken Miedema. And it was sung at a church camp by my sisters at first. And it's become over the years part of my cancer story. And it's about a tree that's planted by the water in the city streets and in the snow. And it's how it's grown and thrived over the years, no matter whether it's hot and dry or like in the city streets where there's no water, it still is able to grow and thrive and give joy to the people that see it.
Beautiful metaphor. And yeah, very beautiful. Yeah, right here.
One that I share quite often with some ladies that I mentor with Firefly is Because He Lives, I Can Face Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites.
I have heard other people say exactly that. Yeah, and one more. The lady in the pink with the black glove.
We're going to church on a Saturday. I love it.
Uh-huh.
So one of the songs that I think about, and this is for the young lady that was sitting over there. I don't know your name, Trudy. But it's a song by a gospel singer and pastor, Marvin Sapp, S-A-P-P. And it's a song about my testimony. And the song kind of reminds you that, hey, I've gone through some storms. I got some scars, but I made it and I'm still alive. And so for me, it's like, I don't know what his journey was and what he went through. I believe it was the loss of his wife when he wrote that song. But it's been a song that has stayed with me since my diagnosis. And it encourages me because it lets me know, yes, I do have some scars and we've been through some storms. I think that's putting it lightly, but we're still alive. So that it just says, hey, there's hope.
Yes.
Even after our journey, there's hope. Even after the storm, there's a rainbow, even after a storm. And so that's one that really, I listen to it all the time. As a matter of fact, I listened to it on my way here, because I knew I was going to have to speak, but it's like, how do I share my testimony to let someone know that there's hope after a cancer diagnosis?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing that. That's beautiful. And I believe I've heard of that artist too. Okay, one more. The other lady in the pink right there.
Well, my story is, as far as music go, I love hip hop, country, jazz, and some old school. I like to dance, listen to music, sing. Music can inspire you in a different way and everything and make you feel happy. You can be like crying and just hear some music. Hey, that's the song. So I'm more of the hip hop, energetic, music and everything. That's how.
Fantastic. And you guys will get a chance to talk with each other some more about this in just a second. I want to make sure we have time for you to interact with each other around music. So just some links to a couple more hope-giving stories. The music making app that can help with brain fog. I think it's still in development, but they've been working on it for a few years and hopefully ready for the market soon. And then this Play It Back program gets teen cancer survivors involved in music making and songwriting. So to the music self-care exercises, an ISO principle playlist. The ISO principle is a key principle in music therapy, and it means the ISO means same in Greek. So it means starting with the music where you're at with your mood. So an ISO principle playlist could take you from sad songs to happy ones, from anxious songs to calm ones. And yeah, it's one of those where, okay, I'm not in a good mood. I need to listen to music that matches that mood, but I don't want to stay there. So you would start your playlist with songs that match your current headspace and move to more neutral ones, and then wind up with songs in the headspace where you want to be. So thinking about under what circumstances that would be more helpful to you, and of course, what music would be on that playlist. Finding your power song. This would be the song that speaks to you, expresses what you're going through, and just makes you feel empowered and like you got this. You can conquer anything. Several of you just shared about power songs for you. Analyzing the lyrics of a song that really means a great deal to you, and that you find super relatable, just writing down the words, thinking about what did the artist mean, and then what does that mean to you, can really be very emotionally fulfilling and again, give you the sense of connection. Writing your own song, your own poem, spoken word, rap, based on an affirming word or statement that means something to you. And this doesn't have to be intimidating if it's something you're not used to at all. In fact, it can be fun. Joe Davis, if you're not familiar with him, is a local poet, musician, dancer, artist, activist, and he is very, very talented. So this is his technique, lightning poetry, where you start out writing your affirmation at the top of your page, on your phone, wherever, thinking of 7 words or any number you like related to your affirmation theme, and then writing your piece based on using those words and any others you want. You can use any cuss words you want. Sometimes you have feelings you just need to get sweary about. That's perfectly fine. There is no wrong way to do this, and it's super fun. So what I would like you all to do is, with your table mates, you can either build a playlist of power songs or support songs, put together an ISO principle playlist, or start the process of writing your affirmation affirmation or poem. So in the next few minutes, I know it's a tall order, but just do what you can with this.
Absolutely.
Okay, I know this is hardly fair because I just gave you guys enough time to get started. But I do want to leave a little time to just hear the beginning from at least some of the tables, what you got started with, and then leave a minute or so for questions. So whoever is ready to share, what did you start with? Let's see, why don't we start with the middle table right there?
We didn't really, I mean, we talk about how people are using music and share our music that we've been listening. That's about it. So we don't really have a lot of time to build a list yet.
Started making a playlist.
Correct.
Okay.
Exchange.
Awesome. And then how about this front table here?
Yeah. I personally listen to a ridiculous amount of music. I'm a part of the 1% on Spotify. I love listening to new artists. And I have we talk about categories. I have artists for every category. I love all walks of music. And I think it's important to really affirm your emotions through it. And so my tool to find new artists is I like Spotify. I know you can do it as well on other streaming platforms, but I like to find an artist that I like, and I will do artist radio, and then you can find new artists through that artist radio, and then do it again and again and again, and eventually you'll find a lot of really talented people that maybe don't have a lot of following. And I think it's important to support those people and to find those people because they will speak the message that you personally have, and then you start to develop that almost relationship. I love following artists who are at 10,000 streams or whatever, and you'll find that throughout a year, 2, 3, they grow and they become famous, but it's because of the collective message. So
Yeah, that's very good. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
There's a local Minneapolis artist, and I had heard her at a small backyard, not realizing she had a little bit of more of a following than just in a backyard. And she ended up singing at my husband and my wedding, but she has a
Nice.
song called Don't Come Clean. And it can, anything in life that isn't perfect, imagine that, it can speak to.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Thank you both for sharing this. And maybe the back table.
We kind of talked about bullet number 2. Through my diagnosis, I kind of built a playlist surrounding Taylor Swift. Her songs would resonate me with days I was feeling bad and days I was feeling really, really well. She had songs kind of covering all those topics. Though some of those ones when she was mad, it was probably about her boyfriend. For me, it was about, cancer. So yeah, that worked for me.
Wonderful. And I really apologize that we didn't have even more time. It's kind of scary how fast a 45-minute session can go. But I hope that doing this at least gave you all some ways to think about harnessing music you love to help you feel better. And with the remaining minute or two, any questions or comments, anything I can clarify that you need?
Any online at this point?
Well, if not, again, I apologize for the whirlwind tour through the ideas that I had to share with you, but I super appreciate all of you being here. Those of you who shared how music has helped you with survivorship, I really appreciate your doing that. And thank you very much for being here. This is an even better turnout than I hoped for, and I hope this session's been helpful to you all. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jenzi. And I know as a clinician in cancer survivorship, and in oncology, I've really seen this in action, the power of music. For example, I do bone marrow biopsies, and I've seen patients who come in and want to listen to their playlist have much less pain. So it's really been cool to hear the science behind that and think about ways that I can try to incorporate this into my practice with cancer survivors. So thank you again, Jenzi. Now, so that's it for this session. So you can now choose what is the next breakout session that you're interested in. For our virtual attendees, you can refer to the email sent to you earlier today for the links that you need. And then for the rest of you, the options are the microbiome and nutrition, which is in the main room, the Memorial Hall, where we started the day. Or there is cardio-oncology in Johnson Hall, which is across in the back. And then, or else if you want to stay for the caregiver session, that's going to be right here in the same room. And it will start in like 7 minutes. 10:35. So if you need to take a break, now's a good time.